Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing about the PHP, that is hyperprocessor. So here basically before PHP basically we are going to discuss one more topic basically, that is basically the related to the ASP, that is the active server pages. The person basically who know active server pages, he basically can easily able to learn the PHP basically. The people who basically know active server pages, that is basically long before in 2003 2004, active server basically was famous basically. Before .NET basically was there. Before .NET basically the active server pages was in good side basically. And that time basically the active server pages was on demand basically, that also you can say. Same exactly like active server pages, the PHP is basically PHP is created. Hypertext processor basically. So this basically contains what basically? This contains HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So when basically if you create the PHP file basically, that time HTML, CSS, JavaScript basically contain in that file basically, and the extension basically is .php basically. That also you can say basically. It's the open source basically scripting language. PHP executes on the server basically. So here 1% to the executes on the server means what basically? So the desktop applications are there. Desktop application basically are running at the desktop basically. But here basically PHP say that we need one server basically. And in that server basically you can execute this PHP file basically. So one server is required here and it's the free downloadable basically. You can download the PHP software basically freely because you have to create the PHP file, right? You have to create the software, you have to create the websites basically. So in that basically you require one PHP downloadable software basically. From that basically you can do the programming of the PHP basically. So long before basically when we were using the ASP, exactly same as ASP, the PHP has created. The extension file is .php. It's a free download basically. You can use that downloadable file basically. It's basically very famous basically because it's a very lightweight component, lightweight file basically. It's easy to download in the server basically. So in the browser basically. So it's lightweight basically, that also you can say. It's basically well famous in the network, large social networking websites basically, good forums basically, good shopping websites basically. The people uses the shop PHP. It's a good basically. It's a good basically for the business who are basically the beginner basically. For server side programming basically, which when we do the server side programming, that time basically the PHP basically you can use as a server side scripting language basically. So what actually the PHP is basically? One person told that what actually the PHP is. PHP file contains HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code basically. So when you create the file basically, that time everybody knows basically the HTML tag, how basically it looks. HTML body part is there, then the text part is there, then the lots of text boxes basically you can add, lots of form creation basically you can do. You can basically have many tags basically in the HTML basically. Everybody knows basically what actually HTML is. So here basically the question is what actually the PHP files. One of the person basically asked the question what actually the PHP is. Because when you are creating any, when you are doing any programming basically language, when you are basically creating first server side language, so that time basically you should know basically what actually you are working with. So here the thing is what actually the PHP is. PHP contains text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript and PHP code. So what is HTML basically that everybody knows. What is CSS that also everybody knows for designing purpose basically it are used. And JavaScript basically everybody knows. It's basically good for the JavaScripting, for the validation purpose basically we use, for the designing purpose also basically, for the high tech display also basically nowadays people basically use JavaScript. There are many JS script basically available in the market which say that basically we can give the good look and feel for the project. Good server side scripting basically can we convert to the JavaScript basically. Lots of basically the um, things are available in the JavaScript. And what is JavaScript? Basically, that everybody knows. When basically you are creating any of the um, web basically web server files basically, that time basically the JavaScript is a well-known scripting code basically you can say. And here the another is PHP code that basically we are going to learn here basically. PHP code basically that is the topic basically. What is the PHP file? So PHP code is executed on the server and result is returned to the browser as a plain HTML file basically. So when you basically execute the file basically, PHP file basically, whenever basically you execute the file basically, for example, if it's a server side language basically, then the client and server basically are always there basically. That everybody knows that client is there and the one is the server basically. So when you are doing the programming basically, that time basically client and server basically both are same basically. Why? Because you are basically in the one desktop application there basically you installed the PHP software and then basically you created the server basically. So how basically that to create that everything basically we are going to discuss in the coming videos basically. So here the topic is PHP file basically. So PHP results basically are returned in the form of browser. So browser basically server side scripting basically everybody knows HTTP basically are used, then server name and then lots of basically path basically is there. Then you execute the file basically that is the PHP file. It returns as a plain HTML basically. When you return means what actually? One of the person told that what actually you meant by return basically. Whenever you basically see the view, so for example, hello world.php is there. You executed the file basically, right? So when you basically see the view source basically, there you can basically only able to see the plain HTML data basically. There PHP when for example you have written some PHP code and you executed hello.html hello.php file and when you do the view source in the browser with that time PHP code data basically are not displaying. It only display the HTML plain HTML file basically. And PHP extension basically is .php that everybody knows basically. When basically we are using ASP, that time it was .asp. Currently we are basically creating the PHP extension file, PHP file basically. Here basically the .php are used basically. And it's basically there are many editors basically are available in the market. You can basically use simple notepad also basically to create one PHP file basically. So there are basically many editors available in the market. So that also basically you can. So it's a free basically editors basically are available and notepad basically everybody knows basically it's a free basically in each and every software basically which you use basically which whatever operating system basically you use that time basically notepad are free. So you can basically write the code in PHP in the notepad file and save as a PHP. The extension must be .php. If you want to execute any PHP file, the extension is must basically that is PHP. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about the PHP server side scripting.